Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to start. You'll just have to be. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks for being patient with the technology, everybody. So, thank you very much, everybody, for coming to a special lecture for the International Hempology 101 Society and the University of Victoria Student Society Hempology 101 Club. We've come an extra half hour early than we normally do today because we have Marc Emery here from Vancouver, and I'll bring him up here in half a second. Just a couple of quick things about the lecture series and stuff. So there's only 2 more this year. They normally start at 3:30 till 4, and then the club here at the university continues until the end of April. They have 4:20. But the lectures are recorded and posted later on the internet, and usually they're live online, and hopefully this one will be soon too. So today's lecture is certainly normally one of the more important of the 22 that we have each semester, but I guess even more so in this particular case because Marc's life literally hangs in the balance of politics at this point. And in a way, I don't feel I need to give him much of an introduction. Many know his story, and if you don't, then you're going to hear an incredibly passionate man's story today, as well as his commentary on the politics of the day. But before I bring him up, I not only have to thank Marc, but I'm glad to finally be able to repay him. Marc, in his endeavors with the seed company, gave thousands of dollars. I have no idea how much. I don't know if he ever totaled it up, really. Maybe his accountant did. But certainly a few years ago, I was going through my own trials and tribulations with the police, which is now thankfully long behind me. And Marc gave me $2,000 at the time. And I'm proud to say that I'm able to give him his last $900 back today. I'd like to say on behalf of not just myself, not just the members of the Cannabis Buyers Club and Hempology, but really everybody that you've contributed to, whether they can pay you back or not. You know, thank you very much, Marc.
You're welcome.
Come on up here.
I'll get the check now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And so I guess that serves as a great introduction, because that's what we did give away, about $4.1 million from 1995 to 2005. And I never really did keep track of it. A lot of it's people like Ted reminding me, hey, you gave me money, I'm going to give you some money back. And that's how I got reminded of the things we did. But see, that was the whole genius of this kind of revolution that I had in mind back in 1990, he says, pocketing that check. And in 1990, I had been involved in civil disobedience for about 10 years, ever since reading Ayn Rand in my backyard in 1970. I was going to go smash the state and change the world and get people out of jail, and it's been a very interesting time for the 29 years since, and of good success. And so what I did in 1990, though, is I started a political party 10 years earlier, and it's very frustrating asking people for $10, give us $10, please, we need money to carry on our state, right? Just begging for $10. It was crazy, because I'd been in business since 1975, and I thought we should have a business model, a capitalist business model, for a revolution all about weed. I said, what I wanted to do was train everybody to become good business people, good capitalists, produce products that people in our culture wanted. I knew there were millions of us out there. And in 1990, when I started, all books, magazines, pipes, and bongs about pot were illegal. Now, by the way, pipes and bongs are still illegal. But what happened is they used to seize warehouses when Grow Your Own Stone was republished in 1985. They raided a warehouse. The RCMP took all 5,000 copies. Parliament had passed a law that said you couldn't have any bongs or pipes or literature or books or anything about pot. And if you did, it was a $200,000 fine and or 6 months in jail. Now, I was a bookseller at the time, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't find The Emperor Wears No Clothes, which is the book that got me involved in this movement in 1989. I had a college radio show, Radio Free Speech Revolution through rock and rap in 1989, and I heard this thing by a guy named Jello Biafra, who was a member of the Dead Kennedys, one of my favorite bands ever. And Jello Biafra had this segment called Grow More Pot. He himself actually doesn't smoke pot, but he was basically saying, hey, this is a big conspiracy going George Washington, and of course I to this day try to remind my American audiences when I'm speaking on radio, because they're trying to extradite me. They call me the #1 drug trafficking kingpin in all of Canada. They're bigger than triads and all the Chinese gangs, and bigger than everybody. That's me. And they can say this on New Dog, CNN, right? And they're actually saying I'm responsible for 1.1 million pounds of weed, which is worth about $3 billion, of which I would be very proud to say, if it's true, I'm glad it happened, right? Because $3 billion to my culture, nobody in their life could say I brought $3 billion worth of wealth to my people. Like, I don't even know if the guy who founded Israel, if I can say I brought $3 billion worth of wealth. That's a pretty heavy thing to be able to say, I brought $3 billion worth of wealth to a people. Well, I can die happy now. But anyway, so in 1989, though, none of this is going on in Canada. Jello Biafra's come to my town, and I put on this concert with him, and he's charging me $4,000, and I just saw enough to get in there, and he goes on about this Emperor wears no clothes. So I actually try and find it. It's illegal. It's banned in Canada. You can't get it, right? And I'm thinking, wow, that's freaky that I run a bookshop, has for 15 years, and I'm only finding out now that books about marijuana are banned, and you can't get them. You can't get High Times anywhere on newsstands from 1985 to 1995. It was actually unavailable in Canada. So eventually what happens is I start selling these books, grow guides, Emperor Wears No Clothes. I cannot get charged for the life of me. Because basically they're saying, well listen, if we charge you, you will probably overturn the law, because the law on the face is so outrageous that true information could be banned. And not just with like, remember, the fine for having pot was $2,000. The fine for telling the truth about pot was $200,000. And that to me was the first really important lesson I learned from the state, is that they value your telling of the truth much more highly and dangerously than actually possessing the drug itself. Telling the truth about marijuana was 100 times more, or rather 50 times more liable to get you a larger fine than actually possessing marijuana. So it wasn't the drug itself, it wasn't marijuana itself that they really didn't want you to get near. It was the truth about marijuana they didn't want you to get near. Instead, it unravels that whole thing the government's always lying to you, and the government by necessity has to lie to you, and the government's all just an instrument of control, designed to control people, and then if you get freedom, the government loses control. And if the government gets control, you lose freedom. So it's a paradigm where you exist in a world wherever government gains, you lose. Wherever you win, somebody must have just won a court battle or something, because I've never seen governments voluntarily repeal their control. It's never happened as far as I know. If you think of an example, let me know. But everything from abortion to drug rights is all won by going to court, breaking the law, just violating the law and its premise, and hoping that society is going to back you, and then you can see social change coming from that rebellion. So that was my idea. I was tired of begging for money in the early days in 1989, and I tried political parties, so I thought, no, we need a capitalist model where we can start these engines of economic activity in any community where there's enough stoners and potheads to support a store, or support an infrastructure, or support a compassion club. Then we should be funneling our money to those people who would then use it to funnel it back out into the community and create an infrastructure. So the first thing I think we do is we need a role model for the revolution, earn lots of money. Earn lots of money and redistribute the money. And that was the whole idea. And then from there we do what I thought the gay liberation. I grew up in that period of the 70s, and I thought that was very effective. What did they do? They got clubs. They got media. They got magazines and newspapers that they owned and that were all about them. Right? And then they proceeded to have clubs, and then they had meetings, and then they had street parades, and then they started getting people elected, etc. And I thought, that's an excellent model to go with, right? Economic activity, grouping together, funneling your money through the community back out into political power. So what happens, people would send me millions of dollars for all these seeds. In fact, they would send me $50 million over the space of 10 years. And after I paid all the seed people and everything else, it was like $4,100,000 we gave away. And the idea was there is we gave it to the Marijuana Policy Project, a lot to them, like for ballot initiatives in Washington, D.C. in 1990, 15,000 Arizona in 2000, Alaska in 2000, 2002, 2004. We paid for the candidates at the Supreme Court challenge that David Momo was getting first play, went to the Supreme Court in 2003 here in Canada, we paid for that. So we were paying for all these fabulous things, class action suits against the U.S. federal government. Even a drug addiction clinic I ran in Vancouver, it cost $250,000 over its 2-year life, was an enormously rewarding and